Here's a confession that might ruffle some feathers. After just 3 hours with Hollow Knight's Silksong, I'm convinced this sequel might actually surpass its legendary predecessor. And that's a statement bound to divide the fan base. Celebrating the arrival of one of gaming's most anticipated sequels feels almost surreal, doesn't it? The moment I stepped into Pharloom's intricate world, I found myself completely absorbed in ways I hadn't expected. Within minutes, I was navigating through interconnected pathways that felt both familiar and refreshingly different from the original's more intimidating opening sequence. Instead of the slow, methodical introduction that characterized Hollow Knight's early hours, Silksong wastes no time presenting players with multiple exploration routes and the necessary tools to tackle them with genuine confidence. While it's premature to make definitive judgments about the game's complete scope, upgrade progression systems, or the true scale of this stunning new realm, my early experience suggests something remarkable. Silksong appears to be successfully meeting and potentially exceeding the astronomical expectations that have built up around it over years of anticipation. But here's where it gets controversial. The most striking departure longtime fans will immediately recognize involves our protagonist herself. Unlike the wordless knight from the original adventure, Hornet brings genuine personality and engaging dialogue to every encounter with Pharloom's diverse inhabitants. Initially, I harbored concerns that this fundamental shift might disrupt the contemplative, almost meditative atmosphere that made Hollow Knight so captivating. However, Hornet strikes an impressive balance as a character. She's confident without being brash, cautiously sociable while maintaining an air of mystery, and willing to express her thoughts when circumstances demanded, yet reserved enough to let others guide most conversations. This represents a meaningful evolution, particularly when Hornet provides clearer explanations compared to Hollow Knight's deliberately cryptic dialogue approach. Yet this change feels organic rather than jarring, enhancing rather than diminishing the overall experience. The exceptional writing quality that elevated the original game returns in full force, maintaining that delicate balance between poetic ambiguity and accessibility without ever feeling pretentious or overly intellectual. The narrative seamlessly weaves together moments of genuine gravity with light-hearted humor that feels natural rather than forced. One early encounter that perfectly exemplifies this balance involves a devoted pilgrim serenading a locked door in hopes of opening it, only to eagerly claim responsibility when you discover the actual mechanism that grants access. These carefully crafted details demonstrate that the meticulous attention to quality and world-building that distinguished Hollow Knight remains not just intact, but seemingly enhanced. Every location promises deeper mysteries to uncover. Each character hints at compelling backstories worth discovering, and the musical composition already suggests another masterpiece soundtrack that will likely become a permanent fixture in my playlist for months to come. And this is the part most people miss. The customization systems represent perhaps the most significant mechanical evolution. The introduction of color-coded ability charms creates meaningful strategic decisions rather than simply accumulating power. When multiple desirable upgrades compete for the same colored slot, players must genuinely prioritize their playstyle preferences. For instance, early exploration presents choices between charms that increase currency drops from defeated enemies versus ones that automatically collect that currency when enemies fall. These decisions extend beyond passive abilities to include secondary attacks. Currently, I've discovered a swift throwing dagger option, and even crests that fundamentally alter your combat approach in ways that feel like switching between entirely different weapon types. The potential flexibility appears enormous, and I'm genuinely eager to discover whether future unlocks will enable the creation of truly cohesive character builds that match my preferred approach. This system does risk creating illusory choices or establishing obviously superior paths that overshadow alternatives. But if Teen Cherry has achieved proper balance, it could support radically different playstyles based entirely on individual preferences and tactical thinking. Expecting players to utilize these customization options seems wise, because Silksong demonstrates no hesitation about challenging its audience. The game maintains its punishing reputation through mechanics like the complete loss of rosaries, the primary currency, upon death, requiring players to retrieve them from their death location in classic corpse-run fashion. Enemies possess enough strength to force these retrieval journeys when exploration pushes beyond safe boundaries. However, Silksong implements several systems to reduce frustration compared to its predecessor. Players can invest in consumable items that safely store excess rosaries, early upgrades minimize currency loss upon death, and not every progression element depends on this single resource, providing alternative advancement paths when setbacks occur. While my experience remains limited, these changes suggest reduced overall frustration compared to Hollow Knight's occasionally harsh progression system. Speaking of improvements, one of the most common criticisms that caused players to abandon the original involved the initially sparse mapping system. Early areas branched in ways that could leave players mapless for extended periods, and town visits were required to purchase upgrades before maps would update or display player location. While these upgrades remain necessary, their vendor now appears directly along the main path before exploration truly opens up, and this accessibility arrives much earlier in the experience. This represents another intelligently smoothed rough edge that maintains the thrilling danger of exploring uncharted territories while searching for the next safe haven, without forcing players into that anxiety before establishing basic competency. I could continue analyzing these early observations, but honestly, the urge to return to playing grows stronger with each passing moment. The game's complete scope remains unclear, though achievement requirements suggesting 100% completion speedruns under 30 hours compared to Hollow Knight's 20-hour target hints at substantial content expansion. Currently, Silksong delivers exactly what a sequel of this caliber should provide. It avoids completely reinventing successful mechanics, while refusing to rely solely on past achievements. Every system shows thoughtful refinement, and from my current perspective, these improvements create an experience that feels superior to the original. But here's my controversial take that I want you to weigh in on. Is it possible for a sequel to improve too much on its predecessor's formula? Does maintaining Hollow Knight's challenging, sometimes frustrating elements remain essential to the experience? Or do Silksong's quality of life improvements risk diluting what made the original special? I'm curious whether you think these changes represent evolution or if they might alienate purists who preferred the original's uncompromising approach. Share your thoughts. Are you team accessible improvement or team preserve the original's harsh charm?